Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Hi, everybody. This is Near Memo episode 107 with me and Mike Blumenthal and special guest Darren Shaw talking about the local search ranking factors, which was just published last week. And as promised, Darren has graciously decided to join us again. This is, I think, year number 2 to unpack the factors and generate a bunch of tactical takeaways for everybody. And we're going to talk about this report in 3 kind of semi-discrete sections. We're going to give you kind of an overview of what it is and what it says and what's new. And then we're going to talk about tactical findings and must-dos and some hidden gems, perhaps. And then in the third portion of the discussion, we'll be talking about conversion factors, local SEO myths, and some things to think about based on the category of client that you're working for. So vertical differences in terms of your tactical approach. And so with that, Darren needs no introduction. He's the CEO and founder of WhiteSpark, which is one of the...
But we'll introduce him anyways, Keith.
Sure. Not everybody knows me. I'm not a household name right now.
All right. Okay. So I was in the process of an introduction there, Mike. So Darren, why don't you tell us what are the important things to know about yourself beyond that you're Canadian and you founded WhiteSpark?
Let's see. That covers it mostly. I've been doing web development and SEO since the early 2000s. Even in the 90s, I guess, I started making websites. And in 2005, I started the company, WhiteSpark. We started off as web development. And then in 2010, well, usually around 2008, I started following Mike and David and getting really obsessed with local SEO because, my clients were asking, how do you rank in these local packs? And so around 2010, I launched our first SaaS software called the Local Citation Finder. And then we've just been all local all the time, but I don't like to use that because that's Mike's phrase, all local all the time. But I feel very on the same page as Mike with that.
Okay. All right. So local search ranking factors has been around for a long time. This is the 15th anniversary. It was started by David Mim in 2008. Tell us, there was a kind of major overhaul. So tell us what the survey captures and what was different versus last year.
Yeah, so the survey has been around 15 years. It's a big one. I didn't know that until you pointed it out, Greg, so thank you. But yeah, David Mim started the survey, and the idea is to just poll the people that are studying, researching, trying to understand how Google's local algorithm works, how businesses are ranked in these local packs and maps and local finders. And so that's what the survey does. We poll the very best. And so the very best are, the people that are doing this work and studying and running tests and really understanding it. And so when you aggregate that information from the best minds in the industry, you really get to surface to the top, like what are the tactics that seem to really move the needle. So that's the goal of the survey. It's had a pretty big structural overhaul this year. In previous years, we would ask participants to pick their top 20 factors and then sort them in order of importance. And that was always a little bit of an exercise in futility because when you get into factors, is factor 14 more important than 15? So this little shifts, it didn't really seem to have much of an impact. So this year, I've changed it completely where the participants painfully have to score every single factor. As Mike can attest, it's very painful. But you have to decide on every factor, what is the ranking impact, what is the local organic ranking impact, and what is the conversion impact for 149 factors. And you're scoring them up between 0 and 5. And so because of this very drastic change in the structure, we are seeing some interesting movements in the factors this year. Anyways, that's just a bit of a long-winded overview.
Yeah. So quick question, backing up a little bit about the people who participate. We're going to link to the website, and you can see who's involved, and you can see all the discussion. Darren's done a great job, sort of summarizing the findings. But how are people chosen, and are new people added periodically to the list of contributors?
Yeah. So this year I added probably 5 or 6 new people, and these are it's kind of arbitrary, really. It's like people that I see out there in the social sphere, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. They're publishing on their blog. People that are actively publishing and speaking about. They either speak at conferences or they're writing on their blog or they're on social. So it's these people that are really kind of showing themselves and getting out there with their local search knowledge. Those are typically the people that I will identify and then invite to participate in the survey. So there are a lot of unsung local search heroes that I may not be aware of, people that are practicing in agencies around the world that are really good at local SEO that I never hear about them. And so the voices would have been nice to include, but it's really the people that are public that tend to get included.
Okay, great. And then tell us what you added substantively beyond the structure of the survey, which I had a look at before it went out. And I was grateful that I was not among the people answering all those questions.
Yep.
But beyond the structure itself, there were some new kind of topic areas. What were those? Tell us about those.
Yeah, so I added 2 new survey questions. I wanted to understand, like, the local services ads are really growing in importance. We're seeing that in industries that display the local services ads, they're cannibalizing the pack quite a bit and potentially even organic results. And so I wanted to understand, how do you rank in that? And our clients are asking about it too. It's like, hey, we're paying for these local services ads, but we're buried like way down. Like, we want to be in the top 3 that are shown when someone searches our primary keyword. How do we get in there? And so I asked the participants, if you're doing local services ads for your clients, what are the ranking factors and how would you order them in terms of importance? And so I did get some great responses there. And then I counted up how many times people mentioned each of those and was able to generate a table of the very top most mentioned local search or local services ads ranking factors. So the things that really drive rankings in those areas. And so those are the local services ads.
Give us a quick taste of what those were.
Yeah, totally. So it's really valuable to know what those are if you are focusing on the local services ads. And so the most frequently mentioned factor was number of reviews. So just having an outsized number of reviews seems to be the number one driver. Also, responsiveness to leads. I think I've heard a number of experts in this space that run the local services ads saying that if you are slow to respond, then that can sort of lower your score and Google will put you further down on the list. But if you're really quick to respond and you're responsive and you deal with every lead, that can have a big impact. Hours of operation on the listing is important. Proximity plays a role here too. So being in the same way that proximity to the searcher's location impacts the local pack, they're saying that it impacts the local services ads packs as well. Services offer, and then budget. And then this is an interesting one to me, actually, lower down on the list, is fewer leads disputed. So you can actually dispute leads. Like, let's say you get a call, you have to pay Google for that lead. But if it turns into nothing, people are saying that
Google doesn't like troublemakers.
Exactly. Google doesn't want you to dispute your leads. They want all that money.
They don't want any chargebacks.
No chargebacks. Yeah. So fewer chargebacks rank better, apparently. I don't know. I think citation needed on that one, but it's interesting. So anyway, that's a new section of the survey. Which
one of the things I find fascinating about local service ads is it demonstrates how much Google can control user behaviors just by changing the SERPs, right?
Yes.
And
it's amazing.
And we've seen just the importance of Google in some research that we're doing, just Google's, what do they call it? Google the certified or Google
guaranteed, Google screened.
Yeah. Google screened, right. The impact of that is significant. And these are very visual. These are not sort of generic search results. There's pictures, there's these stars. They're very, very visual.
One of my questions in this research that we did at Near Media was whether people recognize that the local services ads are in fact ads, because many people who did that we observed would say things like, oh, I don't click on ads, I'm scrolling through the ads, I'm scrolling past the ads. And yet they often will click on these local services ads because they don't look like typical Google ads. So it's an interesting thing. Do people understand the structure of the SERP and what's going on there?
Yeah, totally.
So go ahead, Darren.
I was going to say another new section I added this year, which I think is very interesting, and obviously this is a hot topic in digital marketing overall, is how local SEOs are using AI. And so I think this section is very interesting. And this table was driven by just one question: how are you using AI in your agency? And then I aggregated all the answers and scored them, and we get this great table. And so you can see some interesting results in this table. If you are trying to practice local SEO and improve local rankings for your clients or for your own business, then this is a very interesting table to look at. And the ones at the top are pretty obvious. Oh, we're using it to kickstart content. Write me a social media post, and then you edit that. That's such a common use case. Everybody is already aware of that. Or using it to inspire, like give me a bullet point list of 10 topic ideas for an electrician to post on Facebook, whatever. So those are so obvious. Everyone's been talking about this. I love this table for the stuff that's at the bottom. So really interesting ways of using this that only one person mentioned. Those are the ones that I find really interesting. So ideas like rewriting business descriptions for citations. I think it was Will Scott that said that one. So like if you wanted to sort of spin your descriptions across different citations so that you're having fresh content on each of those, then that's one idea that you could use. You could use, ChatGPT or something to spin that. Generating a list of FAQs for a business is a really great one. So if you're trying to figure out FAQs to either put on your Google business profile in the Q&A section, or to put on your website and mark them up in schema. And then, of course, get ChatGPT to write the schema for you. So a lot of these ideas are really smart. Writing regex. So, more advanced SEOs will use regular expressions in Google Search Console or Analytics to filter through data. You can get Search Console to write that. Writing formulas in spreadsheets. So there's a lot of really smart ideas of how to use AI in your practice.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.